Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. So today I'm going to be doing a demonstration of application failover using the Nutanix Data Services for Kubernetes or running on the Nutanix Kubernetes Platform. Let's get started. So what we're going to be doing is we're going to be deploying an application in the primary NKP cluster, right? So I have got two NKP clusters. The first one is deployed on a single NKP Nutanix cluster, and another NKP cluster deployed on a secondary Nutanix cluster. Both of these clusters are Nutanix clusters are managed via a single Prism Central, and the two NKP clusters are managed by a NKP management cluster. So I have got an application, WordPress application that is deployed within the namespace called WSKN. And what we're going to be doing is we're going to be replicating the services, the deployments, the secrets, as well as the persistent volumes of the of the WordPress application from the primary Kubernetes cluster over into the secondary Kubernetes cluster. So let's get started. Okay. So before we go ahead, right, we just wanted to share with you the screen layout. The top is going to be the web browser. The bottom left is going to be the Linux jump host. The bottom center is going to be the primary NKP cluster terminal that actually looks at all the ports. And the bottom right is going to be the secondary NKP cluster that looks at all the terminals. So over here, I already have got a WordPress setup. We can see that the WordPress it's set up over here. This is the primary cluster, right? 101. We've got a secondary cluster called 102 over here. And this is the block that is actually being hosted. So I have got, if you were to take a look at the services, right? So it's actually hosted, the WordPress is actually hosted on this IP address, which is 10.168.101.30. If you were to take a look at my host file, this is actually hosted on 10.168.101.30. So WordPress.ndk.local is actually pointing here. So let's make a couple of changes, right? To make some changes to be stored persistently. So I'm just going to create, let's see, not sure how to use WordPress, but let's try. There we go. So under posts, I'm just going to edit this. I'm going to call it hello world running from NKP primary cluster 1. And I'll just create a new post, which is hello world. I'm going to fail over from WSKN cluster 01 to WSKN cluster 02. Right, and publish. So if you were to take a look at the block, you see that I've got one over here and another one over here, right? So what we can then do is to create what we call a application protection plan, right? So let's take a look at what that looks like. So before we actually do that, let's see what the WordPress YAML looks like first, because we just want to make sure that there's no funky configurations, right? So this is the standard WordPress deployment. We've got a secret, we've got a service for my WordPress MySQL. We've got a MySQL persistent volume claim, a MySQL deployment. I've got a WordPress service, WordPress persistent volume claim, as well as a WordPress deployment, right? So it's pretty standard WordPress deployment. Let's take a look at the application protection manifest. Okay, so what we have over here is I'm defining an application. This is a new NDK custom resource that actually targets the namespace called WSKN, as well as it matches all the labels, anything that has got the app called WordPress in the labels. Right, so the secrets has a label, the services has a label, the persistent volume claims has a label. It's just going to select everything that has got app equals WordPress. The next one, I'm going to create a job scheduler. So this job scheduler allows me to run jobs every single hour. I'm just going to specify the timing over here so that I don't need to wait too long. I want it to start automatically at 12:00. Okay. The next one is a protection plan. So what this protection plan essentially gels together the job schedule together with the amount of retentions that we want, right? So the amount of retention snapshots that we want to keep. And lastly, the application protection plan basically gels together the protection plan as well as the application. So for the app protection plan, we have got some metadata, which is basically the name, which namespace you want to create it under, what's the name of the application, and what labels do we want to target. So we have a labels app name equals to WSK and WordPress. This is actually targeting this WSK and WordPress application configuration. And the last one is protection plan names, which is hourly protection plan, which is currently Sky. Okay, so let's go ahead and apply this. We're going to select the context, which is 101, because we know that this is the primary cluster that is we are currently running on. So that's going to create it. Then we can look at the application snapshots. Because the first thing that the moment the application job runs, the application protection plan runs, is going to create a snapshot first. So let's wait for a couple of minutes. So in about 50 seconds, we should start to see the application snapshot get created. After which it's going to automatically create it every hour as per defined within my job schedule. Also, as we can see, it has got a replication target. So what we're doing is this protection plan is automatically going to retain one snapshot on locally on the primary cluster and replicate another snapshot over to the secondary cluster over here. Okay, so just on time, we see that the application snapshot is getting created. We can see what the snapshot entails. So we see that it's actually selecting the deployment, the persistent volume claim, the secret, as well as service, basically everything that makes up the WordPress application. I'm also using Cilium, so it does pick up the Cilium endpoint, but this is all right. So once that is done, the next thing that's going to happen is that the moment this snapshot turns to ready to use, what it's going to do is going to replicate. So let's take a look at the application snapshot replications. And we see that this is getting replicated. So progressing is true, progress is 0. In a couple of moments, we'll see this snapshot appear here once the application snapshot is ready. Okay. So we see that the moment this turns true, right? We can see that here turns true as well. And we can see the name, right, is 785D0, 785D0. Okay. So let's simulate a failure. We can simulate a failure by deleting the WordPress application. So I'm just going to, delete WordPress. And the namespace is WSKN, right? So you see the ports, it's been deleted. And if I refresh the page, it's not going to work. Think about this as well. Okay, so how can we do a failover? What we can do is we can use a custom resource to actually execute the failover. So today the failover is not automated, but in the subsequent release at the end of the year, it's going to be fully automated. So what we can do is we can edit the manifest file. Change the snapshot name to target the latest snapshot. And then we can apply it. So let's go straight to the ports to make sure that we see it coming online. And use the correct context. So 102. So we see it's 102 over here. So we're just going to use 102 over here as well. Okay. So we can see the failover happening. Application snapshot restores. We can see the snapshot restore happening. we'll take a look at the status. We can see it's progressing, right? Config restored, being restored, right? And we can see the completed is false. So the moment completed is true, then we will see the applications get spun up. So let's take a look at the pods. So we see the spots starting to get spun up. Let's take a look at the persistent volumes. We see the persistent volumes are pending. It is now bound. We look at the secrets. We also see the secrets also being populated. If we look at the service, we see there's also a service being created. Let's update the service in our host file. So once the service comes online, okay, we see WordPress coming online. There we go. I'm going to failover hello from primary cluster 1. Okay. And if you will take a look at the system, right? You can actually create a new post. Hello from cluster 2 from WSN cluster 2 publish. There we go. Right. So this concludes the demo. If you're going to do a failback, what we need to do is we just need to go and perform a stateful another replication from the secondary cluster back to the primary cluster. Basically, whatever you've been doing in reverse, right? After that, just do a failover restore. Right. Thank you for watching.